Hello everybody and welcome back. But today, the day has finally arrived, or kind of. The day is tomorrow where Stride Fates arrive, but today is the day where we get to talk about it. So, Stride Fates on PSVR2, how is it? In one sentence, I would sum up Stride Fates as one visual patch away from being the best Mirror's Edge type VR game I have ever played. Unfortunately, as I just said, the game is in desperate need of a visual upgrade on PSVR2. There's a lot more to dig into than just the visuals here though, so let's get into it. But before we do that, I've got to do my usual spiel. We're trying to get to 10,000 subs at the moment, and I know the very preachy YouTube stuff of only 20% of you are subscribed is kind of getting old at this point, but only 20% of you are subbed to the channel, so if you do enjoy the content, it doesn't cost you any money, and it helps feed my silly little ego by pressing that button. So if you do consider subscribing, thank you very much. Anyway, let's get on to the things you actually care about in this video, Stride Fates. Let's do it. Has that done it? I think that's done it. Just make sure. Right, let's start where we always do and dive a bit deeper into the visual presentation of Stride before we even talk about gameplay or story or any of that. It's a very, very mixed bag here. Up close, things look alright. There's a bit of shimmer, but to be honest, I could completely live with that. It's just to the far edges and distance of things where the anti-aliasing doesn't really seem to exist. There are just really jagged edges and not very clear rendering resolution, and I don't think eye tracking is implemented here at all. If it is, I will be absolutely blown away that it looks the way it does, which is really unfortunate because the actual art style here is very Mirror's Edge-like, and some locations genuinely felt really cool to be in, but it was just that barrier to entry of feeling immersed because the visual presentation was so poor.
Yeah, blurry as hell. See, it's cool them in a city like this, but it is... How does it look on social screen? Yeah, you can see, so... This bit... Sorry if I'm a bit quiet, I'm having to look below my headset. This bit here... that crane's really, like, seriously blurry.
There were a couple of patches deployed while I played through the game, but none of them seemed to improve the visual presentation at all. However, I can say the game runs pretty flawlessly at an unreprojected frame rate, at least it feels like it. So the actual parkour that you're doing feels smooth. It's just that the actual resolution is quite disappointing. I'm talking like pre-patch No Man's Sky level resolution here, which is, yeah, not exactly what we wanted. However, if you can get past that, which to be honest, I did settle in and get past it quite quickly, but I know a lot of people it's going to really put them off. What does Stride Fates actually put you in? What is the situation you're in? What do you do? Well, you're essentially recruited into an elite parkour force where you have to undertake missions in the slums, do parkour around, kill enemies, and get guided around by a woman who is called your handler, who kind of guides you, gives you exposition and all that. The story here is perfectly fine. There are some mysteries to unravel, although the only character I really felt any connection to was this handler because they were the only character that really recurs a lot. And to be honest, if you want to completely ignore the story and just take in the gameplay and missions as they come, you'll probably be completely fine doing that as well. If I had to sum up the narrative in one way, it exists, it's there, but it's not really going to blow your socks off at all. The game takes place over 12 levels, and overall, I think the runtime I've seen from other benchmarks has been about 7 to 9 hours. I'm not at the very end of it yet. I'm about at the 5.5 hour mark. I've had quite a lot to play over the last week or so, and it's also been boiling and I've had my finals, so I do apologize for that. However, you are going to get your money's worth in game time out of Stride Fates. Unfortunately, I think there is some DLC on PC that we're not getting quite yet on the PSVR2 version. I think that's coming in about 2 to 3 months, so there's a little bit of extra content that you're going to get in the Steam version of Stride Fates that you're not going to get on the PSVR version at launch, but that is coming from what I hear. Throughout the game, you'll acquire a bunch of guns, machine guns, shotguns, pistols. All of these are upgradable with different attachments like laser sights, mounted lasers, extended mags. Everything you'd expect is here, and it is really cool to upgrade and see them actually visually change as you upgrade them, which is cool. The game has a mix of action and stealth, I would say. You can go into these levels fairly stealthily, take up enemies, throw them off buildings in a very sneaky way if you want to, or you can go in guns blazing, which at the start of the game, a lot of the levels feel like you are just thrown into a firefight, and are focused less so on parkour, but that does improve as the game time went on for me because Once you do get the hang of the parkour and the combat, it can really become fluid, and that's where this game is best. I absolutely love Stride Fates when I was fluidly jumping around, firing off pot shots at enemies, ducking into cover, and continuing on my way. It's a load of fun.
That's sick. Like, the stuff like this is really cool. I just wish the game looked better.
But the game, in my opinion, is at its best when you're just focusing on parkour and traversal. The combat, don't get me wrong, is fun, and the melee combat especially is really punchy, and the physics here are great, but the parkour is just so fluid feeling. From what I heard from the original Stride, the parkour there was great, and I think all they did was improve it for the sequel here, and it does really show. At first, I found it a little finicky. I felt that the momentum between handholds wasn't really there. I was used to Horizon Call the Mountain, where I could grab onto a ledge and then use my arms to throw myself to the next position, which could have been a decent distance away, but here, that momentum wasn't really there. But once you get used to the physics system, you can fluidly jump between platforms, grabbing onto different ledges, and everything that you'd expect to be climbable in this game is climbable, and there's a load of different routes around for you to take during levels, which I really appreciate. The game also puts you into levels that take place basically in the net world, like Netrunners in Cyberpunk, where you have to break through a door and you'll come up to the door in the real world and it'll put you into a digital space where you've got to complete basically a parkour run. These are a lot of fun and their visual style is a lot more interesting than the Aeron City world that you're in the main levels, so I really appreciated a bit of a breakup of pace with these. The enemies you'll be facing are your standard affair for a shooter, really. You'll have ranged enemies, snipers, people with pistols, people with machine guns, people with shields, and the occasional boss. It's that similar format. You've seen it before, you'll see it again, and it works perfectly fine here, but it's not going to blow you away. However, I did really appreciate the fact that ragdoll physics is implemented here quite well. It reminded me of Blade and Sorcery in the way that I could just pick up an enemy and toss them off a ledge, or if I'd knocked them down, I could grab them by their feet and drag them around. It was a lot of fun in that respect.
Could use them as a human shield. See, I've not really seen that in any other like PSVR2 games, which is great.
There was one other issue that I ran into in terms of just how the movement felt that I can't really explain. I just got to demonstrate it to you, and it was to do with the running, which is done by moving your arm. So I'll just let this clip play that explains it.
Okay, so let me demonstrate what I mean by the running feeling weird. So we're in this area, right? We've got straight ahead of us. If I swing my arms like in Blade and Sorcery, I run slow, right? This is how I feel like running should be. But if I just spam it like this, I actually run faster, which just doesn't really feel natural to do. I feel like it should be big swings don't make you go fast. It's small little ones like that that make you do, and it doesn't quite feel right. I don't know.
The final thing I want to touch on is just a general unfortunate lack of polish in some areas. Some of the areas are quite polished, like the melee combat I think feels fairly fleshed out and fun and punchy, but some of the audio design just lacks a bit of punch and feels not too polished. Picking up items from a distance with your grapple hook, which you use the grip button and the trigger to kind of extend your arm towards either an item or a grapple point, and you can either swing on that grapple point or pick up that item from a distance, I felt was finicky and could have used the aid of, say, eye tracking, so you could select which one you wanted by looking at it with your eyes and then use your hand to pull it towards you. At the moment, you've got to kind of awkwardly adjust the position of your hand and your palm to face the item that you want, pull down on both buttons, and then hope that it selects the right one and brings it to you and doesn't just grab onto the nearest ledge and throw you to the floor, because I found that happened quite a few times.
It looks a bit like, Oh, okay.
Overall, I am incredibly torn on Stride Fates, to be honest. If they can get a visual patch in, the game will be worth it, in my opinion. But if poor resolution puts you off an experience completely, this is one to definitely avoid. But if you can get past a bit of jank and that visual presentation, you'll find there's a lot to love about Stride Fates. It's no secret either, this game has been out for a little while on other platforms, so there are other reviewers who have already gone through the game and have echoed my thoughts. But it's the same deal here on PSVR2. Incredibly fun melee combat, decent range combat, really fun parkour that is a little janky at times, but once you get used to it, you can use those mechanics to your advantage, and just a lack of polish in some areas that could really use a patch or two. Anyway, thank you all for watching. I hope you did enjoy. If you did, please feel free to like and subscribe. Thank you to our patrons Luke Bentley, Phil Irving, Hazit Mirza, Ace Gamer, Hippie Pickle, and our YouTube member, Jin007, a license to thrill. If you want to join the Patreon, YouTube membership, or Discord, all the links are below. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.